can see and hear. I can see and hear, Joan says. Jenna can see and hear. So thank you for being patient with me while I got myself organized and figured out what was going on. So welcome, and I'm so happy that you're here. And please, the others of you who are in the room and want to check in to let me know who you are and where you are from, please do feel free to do that. I am the solo host and a facilitator for today, so I will be checking the chat box as we go along. I see somebody's raised their hand. It's Jeannie, it looks like. So great, and we're going to go back to the chat box and get started. So thank you again for being here. My name is Kitty Boitnott. You can see me in the little thumbnail down at the bottom of your screen. And you should also be able to see that I'm sharing a presentation called Jumpstart Your Job Search, going from feeling stuck to being successful. And this presentation is specifically for people who feel like they're at a career crossroads, that they want to make a change in their career, but they're not quite sure how to get started. And that's what I want to help you with. So I've lost the chat again for a moment, but I'll get it back hopefully soon. So let me just share with you that if you're here, it's probably because you're considering making some kind of a change in your job or your career, and you can determine if you're in the right place if you can answer one of the following three questions, or you fit one of the following three characterizations with an affirmative, yes, that's me. That's where I am in this process. So first, you are here because you're ready to break out of some current rut that you find yourself in. You're no longer happy in the job or career path that you find yourself on, and you need to make a change, but you don't know where to start and you need help. If that's you, then great, you're an A. Or maybe you've been unemployed or underemployed for a while. A lot of people may be looking for work because they took whatever they could find after the economy took a nosedive in the 2008, 2010, 11, 12 period. And you took whatever you could get. But now the economy is strong and you want to get into a niche where you actually belong and where you can be paid what you're worth. But again, you feel stuck. Maybe you've been looking, but with no success. And then finally, the third C, don't mean to for that show. C is you're bored or you're burned out with your current job and you're ready to make a change in your career and in general in your life, because let's face it, when you change your career, you're also changing your entire life for hopefully the better. And you're ready to make that change. But again, you just don't know what you want to do. I mean, it's one thing to know that you're ready to make a change. It's another thing to know what change is it that you want. Many of the clients that I work with, the people that I talk to, know they want to change, but they don't know where they want to go. They don't know what to do instead. They are completely buffaloed when it comes to answering the question, well, if you weren't going to do this any longer, what would you like to do instead? 99% of the people I talk to tell me, I wish I knew. I don't have a clue. And that means that you're not alone if you feel that way. Here's another indication that you're certainly not alone. In 2017, the Gallup poll folks did yet another survey on worker satisfaction. They did it worldwide, not just here in the U.S. And what they learned is that 85% of the workers around the world hate their job. The statistic is higher in Japan than anywhere else. Don't ask me why. I'm not sure I would know. The implication that the surveyors took from that result was that management is doing all it can to stifle and kill worker initiative. And that may be worse in Japan than it is in some other places. But 85% of workers around the world, all over the globe, said that they were unhappy. They either hate their job or they're just simply disengaged. They're bored to tears with their job. But it pays the bills, so they keep going to work. 70% of those workers who were surveyed are American. So if you are in that category, you are certainly not alone. The thing is, do you want to belong to the I hate my job club? I know I didn't when I decided to make a change 6 years ago, going on 6 years ago. And so here's what I want to share with you. There is good news, and that is that you are the architect of your own life and your own career. Very often people feel like they're somehow stuck and don't have any choices in the matter. They tend to want to victimize themselves. You are not a victim. You've made certain choices, and you can choose differently. The problem is, where do you start? Most people know if they want to change, they know that, but they don't know anything else about how to get started or where to even begin. So I want you to take this masterclass, turn off all your distractions, shut off Facebook. Listen, I'm the queen of multitasking, so I know that some of you are out there, maybe all of you are out there listening to my voice, but checking your Facebook or looking at email or checking out Twitter or looking at Pinterest or whatever. Maybe you've got other distractions going on at home. I would urge you to turn the phone off, turn off all the other apps on your computer, and close the door. I want you to take notes while I'm talking, because I'm going to give you some of my best stuff. Some of you I know have heard some of this before because I recognize your names, and I know you're back for another round, and that's great. I'm glad that you're here. But I do want you to take notes so that you can avoid missing out on anything important that I might share with you. That's the problem I run into. I'll be listening to a webinar and then piddling with other things, and suddenly the speaker has said something that sounded really important, and I've missed it. Now, if you will stick with me until the end, I'll show you how to get a hold of your free PDF, 10 things you need to know if you think you're ready for a job or career change. This is one of my signature ebooks that I published a couple of years ago. It is a 95-page guide to the 10 considerations that I'm going to be talking about today, along with some articles that I've curated over the years from when I wrote for careeralism.com and Forbes.com. So stick around till the end and I'll tell you how you can get a free copy of that. What I want to do for you today is share 10 major considerations that are key to any successful job search or career transition. And these have borne out to be true as I have continued to work with teachers and mid-career professionals who are ready for a change but haven't known at the beginning what to do. And they've gone from being stuck to being successful. Now, how do I know what works? I reinvented and retooled myself back in 2013, 5 years ago. And I have helped hundreds of individuals who were ready for a jumpstart but needed some help. I have helped them with coaching and speaking engagements and also through my programs. I tried to figure out this morning, can I nail down a number? The number of people I've spoken to in group sessions, along with all the webinars that I've done and all the other things that I've done. It's probably well over 1,000 people that I have touched. I've worked with hundreds individually through my programs, and I know that what I'm about to share with you works. As far as my own transition, in case you're not familiar with me and who I am from my past, I was a teacher and librarian for over 30 years, mostly in elementary. I did do a 3-year stint as a 6th grade language arts teacher back in the 70s. And I wound up my career as president of the Virginia Education Association. I did that from 2008 to 2012. I was planning to go back to my school district when my term was up. I was not planning to retire. I had not planned on any sort of career transition. But the fact of the matter is that as I finished up my term at the VEA, I was too tired to want to go back. I was too tired to think I could do any good, frankly. I knew I didn't want to learn SOLs. I knew I didn't want to participate in testing. And the job that they offered me was a 6th grade language arts position. And I just knew I didn't have it in me to take that on. I wouldn't be able to give my students 100%. I was like one of those wet dish rags that, you wring the water out and it's just a limp. That's how I felt inside. I looked okay. Nobody could tell I was that worn out, I don't think. But I was on the inside running on an empty tank. And I worried about where I would have the patience to deal with hormonal middle schoolers. I didn't want to have to deal with a new principal or a big faculty. The idea of it made me break out into tears. So I knew it was time to make a change. Now, the change that I eventually made led to where I am today. I am a trained career transition and job search coach, worked with the company for 14 months and learned everything that I could about job transition, career transition, job search strategies. I worked with people from all over the world and in all walks of life. I'm also certified as a life strategies, stress management, holistic life, and sleep science coach. I have certifications in all 4 areas. As the owner of my own company, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm the author of several ebooks, and I'm a professional speaker. In the past, I was a regular contributor to careerism.com. That is now a defunct e-zine that was available online, but my articles still periodically pop up under workitdaily.com. And I'm a member of Forbes Coaches Council and contribute to Forbes.com on a regular basis. And I know you may be out there thinking, well, that's great, but what's in all that for me? How does any of what I just shared with you how is that going to impact you and your current situation? And I want to share with you that I have a process that I think you can use as you work your way through the progression of feeling stuck to being successful. And that's what I want to help you with as we get started today. Now, if you're out there, it's more than likely that you are starting at stuck. You just don't know where to start. That's where most people are. They'll call me because they see me on Google. They find me through Facebook or LinkedIn. They see that I help burnout teachers with career transition, and they'll make appointments to call me to ask that very question. Where do I even start? I don't know where to begin. I want to help you go from feeling stuck to feeling successful, doing something you love again. And as a teacher, you probably thought you would always be a teacher. You went into teaching. I'm assuming most of you out there are teachers. Maybe you're not, but even if you're not, if you're here, it means that you are looking for some sort of change. So you want something that gives you meaning, that gives you a sense of being fulfilled. You want to be able to think that what you're doing is important enough to make a difference to somebody. You want people to appreciate the work that you do, the effort that you make. And frankly, that's where a lot of teachers are feeling the biggest sense of loss. Nobody appreciates what they're doing anymore. They're giving 120% every single day, and nobody says thank you and really means it. A lot of people pay lip service to the thank yous that they hear or that they offer, but they don't really mean it, or at least it doesn't sound sincere. So I want to help you learn how the process works, this whole job search process. How does it work? Where do you even begin? And then how do you work your way through it so that you can be successful at the end? That's what I want for you. So we're going to talk about 10 major considerations, things that you need to really sit with, think about, ponder as you get ready to make a change of your own. And consideration number 1, before you write your resume, before you tackle a LinkedIn profile, before you write the first cover letter, before you look at Ladders or Monster.com or LinkedIn for a job opening, before you do any of that, you must decide what it is that you want. And again, that's where so many people are stuck. I wish I knew. Can't you tell me? No, I can't tell you. Nobody can tell you. What you want is personal to you. A lot of people will call me and say, I've been a teacher for 10 years. I've been teaching this subject. What kinds of jobs might I qualify for? That is not how I approach this process with people. Instead, I ask, what is it that you would want to do? If I gave you a magic wand and you could have, be, or do anything in the world that you wanted, forget about how you might make that happen. Do you know what that answer would be? Most people don't. And I think a lot of that is the result of your thinking that you can't have what you want, so you've given up on what you want. And I don't want you to give up on what you believe you want, but you have to get in touch with that first. It requires tremendous focus on you, on your talents, aptitudes, gifts, God-given things that you can do that come so easily for you that other people envy and you think everybody else can do. That's usually not the case. You've got some special, unique skills that you may or may not be paying attention to. So I want you to focus on what they are, what it is that you really, really enjoy doing. What are you doing when the time disappears? What kinds of things are you doing? And once you've gotten the focus on that you need, the rest of the first process is getting the clarity that you need. Where could you use those talents, skills, abilities, experience, education, the things that make you uniquely you? Who needs that kind of talent? Where could you plug that in? So focus and clarity are critically important. You also need to consider, as part of what it is that you want, what is it that you feel like you need more than anything else? Is it financial security? Or is it work-life balance? Or would both of those be nice? Sometimes, though, you have to make a choice. Or is it that you don't care as much about the money anymore? A lot of my clients are mid-career, older workers, and they've made pretty much the money they're going to make, but they're ready for something that they will enjoy, that feels easy, that feels less like a struggle. So the job they're looking for is one that caters to their individual talents, abilities, aptitudes. Now, do you have to choose one of these and forego the other two? I don't think so. But you do need to gain some clarity around what it is that you're really looking for. The other thing that you must not give up on is a job that meets your basic human need for respect, for a sense of safety, for feeling like you're part of a group, for feeling loved and appreciated, as well as meeting your physiological needs. Now, I'm here to tell you it is a beautiful thing if you can mold your passion around your career, or if you can get your career to meet up with your passion. That is a beautiful thing. Does it always happen? Maybe not. Is it something you should want for yourself? I think so. Now, I know I've read some articles that are poo-pooing, don't worry about trying to find your passion, just, find a job. I'm not of that camp. I think that we should be looking to find work that capitalizes on our natural talents, our abilities, so that you feel like you're going with the flow and not struggling so hard to make it work. And sometimes when you're in the midst of a job that feels like it's just a struggle from day to day, and you dread going in. I got a message one time. This has been a couple of years ago. It was a text message from someone who had found me online. And I won't ever forget what she wrote. She said, "Kitty, I am literally sitting in my car outside of that building," meaning her school. "I dread going in. I dread the days. I asked a retired administrator friend what I should do, and she recommended that I get put on anxiety medication. I don't want to be on anxiety meds to get through work. Help." Now, that's a more severe case, but clearly she's suffering from burnout, and she was screaming for help. Now, there are some things that you can find easily online that will help you determine what it is that you want to do in your next endeavor. There are books, there are assessments you can take. I offer a pathway planner assessment for a fee that includes a 15-page report of everything you need to know about your skills, your skill level in verbal and mathematics, along with thinking style, personality preferences, level of decisiveness and assertiveness. How do you make decisions? And it's a very comprehensive report. So if you think you might be interested in that sometime, let me know and I can talk to you more about it. But there are other assessments that are also available online. Some of them are for a fee and some of them are free. You also need to do a fair amount of reflection, meditation, and journaling. This process requires that you take time to go within, because the answer is inside you somewhere. You may have pushed it away, you may have buried it deep, deep down, but it's there somewhere. Your purpose, your mission, your hidden passion is somewhere inside you. You can also use for help career services at your college or university. I don't know if you're aware or not, but most colleges and universities have an alumni career center. Some of them are better than others, but that's a place to start for free resources if you need them. And of course, if you're in a position to pay, there are career coaches and advisors out there who offer a variety of programs. I'm going to be offering a program toward the end of this presentation. So there are plenty of opportunities available for you to get help when you might need it. Now, not until you have completed the process of figuring out what it is that you want to do you write a resume. I know a lot of people think that's backwards. They write their resume first, and then they start looking for jobs. I think that's totally backwards. I think it's counterproductive even, because what I want you to be able to do is to first decide what you want. What kind of career change, what kind of job are you looking for? And then you use your work experience, your skills, your abilities, the things that you've learned from your work experience these last years. And we craft a resume for you that conveys your suitability for the job that you're applying for. If you don't do that first, what you're going to do is you're going to write a resume that summarizes everything you've ever done as a teacher, and you're going to upload it and send it into the company that you're applying to. And if they even see it, it's likely they won't see it because of the applicant tracking system that I'm going to talk about in a minute. But even if they manage to see it, their reaction is going to be, this is a former teacher who wants to be whatever, fill in the blank. And they're not going to connect the dots and figure out how you as a former teacher might be a good candidate for this job. They're not that imaginative. You have to draw the dots for them. You have to make the case in your resume. And let me be clear about your resume too. It is not going to get you the job. And you don't have to pay a lot of money to have somebody do a lot of fancy formatting for you. They're just looking for the facts, so you don't have to do that. But you do need to create a resume that is a tight enough fit for the job you are applying for that you will get invited for an interview. It is in the interview that you close the deal. It is in the interview that you get invited to take the job, not with just the resume. A lot of people, I think, give the resume way too much credit. And they'll spend hundreds of dollars with a professional resume writer. And in my book, that's usually money not well spent. I'm speaking from my own experience, of course. I paid $395 to have a professional resume writer do a resume for me in 2013, and I never, to this day, I have never used it. It's useless to me. But that's my story, so maybe that's my bias. The resume, though, does need to reflect how you fit the profile of the candidate they're looking for. And if you fail to present that case, you fail to make the case for why they should even want to talk to you. A lot of people also mess up on the cover letter. They will regurgitate their resume. They'll say things like, "Dear sir or madam, please find enclosed my resume for job number 14629. You will see that I am," and then they continue to simply repeat what's already in the resume. Don't do that. That is a major mistake in writing a cover letter. Your cover letter needs to address the elephant in the room, which is, why are you applying for this job when you've been teaching for 12 years and now you want to be considered as a corporate trainer or instructional designer or some other type of position, social marketer? What makes you qualified. Well, the cover letter is a good place for you to explain. Even though I've been a teacher for 12 years, I also have this experience and these particular skills. You want the cover letter, and you also always want to put a name on your cover letter. Dear Mr. Smith, dear Ms. Jones, even if it's the wrong name. But in this day and age, there is no excuse for you not to look on Google to find the name of the hiring manager for the company that you happen to be applying to. If it's not on a website somewhere, it's probably in LinkedIn somewhere. There's just no excuse. And yet, many people mess up right from the start. Dear sir, dear madam, to whom it may concern. You want your cover letter to be personal. You want to engage the reader right away with a compelling story that connects you to the job that you're interested in. And that is just something that most people don't do properly. Now, here's something else. This is consideration number 4. You need to make sure that your resume and your cover letter are both perfect. No spelling errors, no spacing errors, no punctuation errors, no grammatical errors. If your resume and cover letter are less than perfect, you will be discarded. You might be the most qualified person for the job. It won't matter. I heard a friend of mine who's a former HR director share in a resume workshop that he did once that as the HR director, it was his job to narrow down to 10 the top finalists for every job that he had to fill for his company. He might get as many as 200 applications for any one job. So he would first just scan all of the resumes that he had and get rid of the ones that had any kind of error on them, any kind of error. That went into the no pile. And then he would call down until he got the final 10 perfect resumes. Perfect as in no error. So you need a proofreader. You need somebody who's going to read for you and make sure that what you upload is perfect in every way. Only the perfect, and I don't mean perfect people. I mean the resumes and cover letters have to be perfect. I mentioned this a minute ago, the applicant tracking system. Most new job seekers don't even know this exists. I just found an article this morning that I posted on one of my courses that is an update about the applicant tracking system. And here's the problem with the applicant tracking system as far as you're concerned. Because you don't know it exists, you don't properly but include the keywords that you need in your resume. And so the applicant tracking system, which is a software program that companies use to sort and manage all the candidates that apply for a particular job. And the software program scans through each application as it comes through, the resume, the cover letter, and the application. And if they don't find a high enough density of keywords that match the keywords in the job description, they toss that application into the not a good fit pile. And that explains why people can apply for 100 different jobs and never hear from a single person. It's because they're not paying attention to the keywords that they use. They're not even faking for making their resume a fit for the job description. They've written one resume and they're uploading that same resume for 100 different job descriptions. That is not a winning strategy. So know at least that the applicant tracking system is there. The recruiters love it. HR managers love it because it keeps them from having to manually sort through all of the applications that come through their portal every day. One of the problems has been until recently, a lot of the applicant tracking systems have gotten old and clunky, and they're not very sophisticated. That is changing. And in fact, in one article that I read not too long ago, the more sophisticated ATS programs are doing a very good job of reading, as in, I'm putting reading in quotes, reading through people's applications so that they can put into context what the person has written and not just look for keywords. But most of them are still going to be looking for those keywords. Consideration number 6, you need to think in terms of rebranding yourself, both personally and professionally. And you want to consider your in-person brand as well as your online brand, how you show up on the internet. What do people find when they Google your name? Do you know? Have you Googled your name lately? You probably should. So your personal brand is how you show up in person, how you present yourself, whether or not when you go to a networking event, you look the part of the type of job that you're looking for. Do you present yourself with confidence? Do you shake hands and engage in eye contact and do all the social niceties that you need to do in order to make a good first impression? That's your personal brand. And then, of course, your online brand is how you show up in other places, including all of your social media platforms and LinkedIn. So consider wherever you might be on the internet, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google Plus, YouTube. Some people are bloggers, and I post frequently on Tumblr even. So if somebody Googles my name, I'm pretty confident that they're going to find something to do with teachers in transition. But if you haven't Googled your own name, you need to do that. A few weeks ago, I Googled the name of a gentleman that I had a prospective meeting with, and what popped up for me on his name was that he had been arrested. It was in the newspaper. He had been arrested. And so when we had our conversation, he did share with me the circumstances around that arrest and what he had been through and what had happened. That he needed to be aware, and I shared with him that was what shows up when your name is Googled. So that can be a problem. If you have very strong opinions politically, religiously, otherwise, you might want to delete some of that stuff from your Facebook and Twitter account. And if you're wondering why, it's because not only does the employer to be, your future employer, look at your LinkedIn profile where they expect to see the best stuff, they're going to also look at your social media platforms to see who you really are. And if you have expressed too many strong, divisive views on a particular topic, they may consider that you might not be a good fit for their company, and they will not give you a serious consideration. So pay attention and make sure that your Facebook and Twitter accounts and anything else, Instagram, everything else is squeaky clean. Consideration 9. This is one of the things that my own career coach told me when I was in my own transition. She said, you cannot stay in the house behind the computer. You have to get out of the house. You got to meet people. And so I went to some networking events, and for me, it was a life-changing event. I don't have time to share the story, but trust me, I went to a networking event where my life was changed dramatically as a result. And if I hadn't gone, that might not have ever happened. So get out, meet people. Where do you find people to meet? There are meetup groups that you can find on the computer, on your internet, meetup.com. There's a group for just about any interest that you might have, including types of jobs that you might be interested in. You can search events in your city or town and find job searching groups or people in your in the industry of your interest, and you can reach out to the people who work in those industries and meet them, invite them for coffee. That's also a networking type of activity, but you've got to get out of the house. You've got to be willing to meet people, because you never know where a connection might lead to a referral for you. It happens all the time. So be aware that you need to get out. You also need to be able to interview well. And frankly, a lot of teachers, the second biggest mistake I see them making, besides the resume, focusing too much on their teacher activity, is in their interview, they focus too much on what they want and not on what the company needs. It takes practice. It takes a certain amount of skill to answer the question that the interviewer is asking without making it all about you. And so you need to get that practice one way or the other, somehow, some way. Figure out how to get the help that you need. You're competing against other people who probably already have experience in the field that you happen to be trying to break into. So you have to use every bit of skill and knowledge that you have to leverage yourself as the best candidate, in spite of perhaps not having all of the pre-qualifications. So you have to learn how to do that. Now, here's a bonus consideration, and that is you've got to have a good attitude. And that's hard, because having a positive attitude in the face of repeated rejection can be a challenge. The truth of the matter is, though, that when you go through any job search, you're going to be facing a certain amount of rejection, especially when you're looking to leap from one industry or type of career into another. That's just a fact. So you've got to be able to persist and persevere in spite of all of the obstacles that you might run into. You also have to practice patience. And this is a good reminder. Patience is not the ability to wait, but the ability to keep a good attitude while waiting. And finally, you can't give in to panic. And some people will want to do that. They'll want to give up in desperation. They'll decide that they can't find anything else, and so they just stop. You can't do that. Even though I know it's a lot to juggle. And it's a lot to keep in mind. I mean, I've mentioned 11 different considerations just today. But you can't give up, because it's your life we're talking about. And if you're here, it means that you want to make a change in your life and in your career. And maybe you've tried to do it on your own, and you've already learned that you can't do it by yourself. Or maybe you think you can do it alone, and maybe you can, but maybe you can't. That's why career coaches exist, after all. You may decide at some point that you need help. So I'm offering today a program called Jumpstart Your Job Search, the Starter Program. It's only $197. It includes the first 2 modules from my larger 10-module Jumpstart Your Job Search program. And for $197, you get the 2 modules plus unlimited email support for 30 days. Everything that you receive is online and self-paced. There's reading that's included, reading recommendations, so a video tutorial, recommended assessments. Some are free and some are paid. Recommended activities, including some meditation or prayer to go along with the process, and a discovery form that is part of the program. All intended to help you get in touch with the question, what now? Or what's next? Or what do you want? And then lesson 2 is all about helping you gain some clarity around what came up for you in lesson 1. And while you're working your way through it, you can email me anytime you need to. There is a money back guarantee. If you hang on to the program, give it the full 30 days, work through every assignment, do everything I ask you to do, and you feel like you didn't get anything out of it, then you can ask for your $197 back. Now, I'm going to share with you a couple of the things that people have said as a result of having worked with me over the last few years. This is Adam. He was one of my early clients. In fact, I think all of these testimonials are from relatively early clients. And Adam said, Kitty, as a career coach, I have worked with many career coaches over the past 12 years, and Kitty's by far the best and most professional. She took the time to get to know me and help me realize my professional goals, and she provided me with a clear path forward. She also did an amazing job helping me with my resume and overall career transition strategy. Thanks to Kitty, I now know what job I want, where I wish to relocate, and what I need to do to get there. The bottom line, Kitty is a career coach for you, and any time and money you spend on her service will be 100% worth it. Adam started out as a instructional cybersecurity instructor in Quantico for a military base. And he wanted to move to San Francisco for a less militaristic type lifestyle. And he eventually, within the year, got hired to go to Google. And since then has left Google because it was a little intense for him too. And he's now working as a cybersecurity instructor for another company out in San Francisco. Happy as a lark. This is Linda, and she helped her with her resume and LinkedIn when she was in the midst of her own transition. And she says, Dr. Kitty Boitnott is an incredible career advisor and coach. I'm still amazed at how she so quickly reviewed my resume, marketing plan, and accomplishments to help me make it a cohesive story. She gave me the exact feedback I needed to improve my resume and job search. Her encouragement and professional style guided me to find the job of my dreams. And she and I only spent one session together. Brooke is a teacher who is still working in the school system and wrote, Kitty is an excellent career coach and mentor. I attended one of her stress management workshops and later sought her help in my job search. I benefited so much from her guidance and feedback as I clarified my career goals, updated my resume, and began searching for a new job. I highly recommend her. She is especially knowledgeable about educators in transition and was able to address my specific needs. She not only got a new job as a library media specialist in a different school, but she now does meditation Mondays for her students and staff during the school year. And she shared with me that she had started meditating as the result of the stress work we did together. And so she was carrying that onward and sharing it with others. So at this point, I'll open it up for questions. I'm going to have to try to figure out now how to get back to the chat box. But before I do that, let's just go ahead and finish up the slide deck so I don't have to keep coming back to it. After questions, I want to thank you for being here. And I also want to tell you that if you want to get in on the starter program, You can do that by going to the website teachersintransition.com/Jumpstart Starter Program, and that'll take you to the sales page. So that's teachersintransition.com. That's the name of my website. /Jumpstart Starter Program. And then to get the free book that I promised, the ebook, you can go to teachersintransition.com/10 things PDF. teachersintransition.com/10 things PDF. So now let me see if I can find the chat box. I had it here earlier and I don't know what happened to it. It was there and then it went away. All messages are public. Chat. Here we go. All right. So let me back up to the very beginning. So Therese must have asked a question that's now gone. But Terry said, Therese, she said to delete any post where you have maybe expressed strong comments that may be divisive, like political posts. And that is true. How do you find out about networking events? What did she say to delete from social media? I missed it. Terry, Kitty, is this tracking system used with resumes as well as for just the online application? Yes, Terry. It's used for everything. Therese, makes sense, must use keywords from the job descriptions. Yes, ma'am. Crystal, Therese, it's an awful place to be, isn't it? Jenna, how can the resume be written to get the job from an online source like LinkedIn or Indeed.com? So you study the job description. And I mean, don't just read it once or twice. You study it. You pick out the keywords that are specifically in the job description part of the posting. And then to the extent that you can, you match your own skills with the keywords that are in that job description. That is the best way to make that fit. Crystal says, I can relate, spent many mornings sitting in my car in the mornings, dreading the day last semester. So you related to the woman. She was in Illinois and just dreading going in. Therese says she's interested in the assessment. So email me, Therese, at kittyboitnot@gmail, and I'll help you figure out how to get that. Do I recommend taking the assessments to decide your next career? That is a way to decide on your next career step. There are several different ways, and that's part of what I cover in the Jumpstart Starter program. Different strategies, because here's the thing. What might work for one person won't necessarily work for another. So I offer a broad variety of strategies to help you get in touch with what it is that you want to be doing. And that's what I try to get to. Salary is a necessary consideration, absolutely. And that is, I won't kid you, that is also part of what keeps teachers stuck. You're not making enough as a teacher for all the things that you're doing and all the time that you spend on the job. But then when you look at other types of jobs where you're starting out in a brand new career, you recognize that you might lose some salary, at least in the beginning. Now, the way you weigh that out is, can you work your way up to a higher salary eventually than you would have if you stuck with teaching, where even if you're at the top of the scale, you're probably stuck there, and the raises that you get from this point on will probably be minuscule. So it's a trade-off. I do offer an online program called Courage, Risks, and Rewards, and it is intended to help you figure out, how do you weigh the risk of taking a chance against the reward of it paying off? And, it's again, it's different for everybody. Terry says, hello, this is Terry from Tennessee. Oh, okay, that was from earlier. Okay, so I think maybe those are all of the messages. Are there any other questions that you have? Thank you. I see that most of you have stuck with me. We started out with 13 on the call, and now we're down to now we're 12. So that means you were interested in what I had to say, and I thank you for that. I really do appreciate you sticking around until the end. And if I can do anything to help you, I suspect Crystal may already be one of my clients, I'm thinking, because I have a client named Crystal. And I don't know about Andrea, but that's also a familiar name. Crystal, do you have any? All right, here's a question from Crystal. Do you have any recommendations for successful job search when you're still extremely burned out and do not want to do anything job related? Well, I can relate to that only because when I left the VEA, I was so burned out that the idea of going to work, like I said, the idea of teaching certainly made me want to cry. And I knew that I wasn't going to have a long enough break. My term at the VEA ended on July 31st. And had I stayed with the school division, I would have been starting in the middle of August. That was not enough of a break. In my own case, I was able to afford taking 6 months off. And I did nothing for that 6 months. I didn't set an alarm. I didn't read anything I didn't want to read. I didn't watch the news. I just sort of hibernated and rested and got myself rejuvenated and feeling like myself again. So from August until January, I did nothing related to work. With the exception of, I think I did apply for one job at the NEA and didn't get it. So if you can afford to do that, that's great. Not everybody's in the position to do that. And so I don't really know what to tell you if you're so burned out on anything job related, that's clearly a problem. I think that the best solution, besides taking the time off that you need to take off if you can afford it, is to try to find something that doesn't feel so much like work. And that's part of what I try to help my clients get in touch with. What kind of, when I'm doing this, it doesn't feel like work. Clearly I'm at work, but I'm not feeling like it's hard or that it's something I don't want to be doing. It's not work for me. It's something I feel like I'm giving back for or to. And so other than being able to take some time off for yourself, just so you can become yourself again, I don't know. Everybody's situation is different. And so, like I said, for me, taking that time off was important. All right, let me get back up here to the question. I don't know why. Here we go. Joan said, how do you find networking events? Well, some of the things that I mentioned are things like meetup groups, meetup.com. You can join Meetup for no cost. The organizers of meetup groups pay a fee. That's how they keep Meetup going. But there are meetup groups all over the country, maybe the world, and they have groups for just about everything. From meditation groups to flower, gardening groups to reading club groups, you name it, there's a group out there. So it is likely that you could find a group of alumni, perhaps, or barring that, find when your alumni association is having a networking event that counts as a networking event. Try to get to a list of events that are coming up in your neighborhood or your city or your town, and see what might be coming up that would have a professional bent to it, that might lend itself toward people being there that you could meet. And so there are dozens of ways to find places to go and people to meet. And some of the easiest ones are, like I said, the alumni groups, meetup groups. In Richmond, where I am, Richmond, Virginia, we have not one, but two at least networking events just for people who are job hunting. And on any given Tuesday at Career Prospectors, there are 40 to 80 people. And on typical Wednesday at the Job Assistance Ministry group, there's going to be at least 40 people there. A lot of them are the same people, but they support one another and they network with one another and they learn from one another. And they eventually, the Job Assistance Ministry group has been in place since 2007, maybe. And they've helped over 8,000 people get placed. So and even as I say 8,000, it may have been as high as 10,000 this last year. So they're doing quite good work. Sarah says, thank you. You give me hope that a career change is possible. Yes, ma'am, it is possible. You just have to know what to do and you have to know the steps to follow. And if I can help, let me know. Jennifer says, I will be almost 60 when I retire. How realistic will it be to pursue a new avenue? Is age something that is a real obstacle? It is if you let it be. I had turned 60 the year I reinvented myself. I'll be 66 in October, and I'm not planning to quit anytime soon. This is work that I love. It's work that I feel good about. It's work that I feel has meaning and provides a service for the group of people that I love and understand, I think, the most, which are teachers. So if I could do it at the age of 60, I don't know why anybody else couldn't. Now, is age a problem when you're applying for jobs in other types? I mean, I clearly started my own business, so age wasn't a barrier to getting a job. I created a job. There is, I mean, I won't kid you, ageism exists for people who are in their 50s and early 60s. There is a bias depending on who the hiring manager is and what the job entails. But again, you can create your own niche for yourself depending on what it is that you want to be doing. The question is, what do you want to be doing? If you I made the comment yesterday, if you want to be an NFL football player and you're 50, that's probably not possible. I mean, your age and physical condition will prohibit you from becoming an NFL quarterback. So it depends on what it is that you want to do, Jennifer. And if you know what it is that you want to do, then figuring out how to make that a reality is part of the process. Now you can decide, well, I'm 60 and it's over for me and I'm not even going to try, and that will work too. But it's up to you to decide if you're going to let your age be a barrier. I chose not to let it become a barrier. I did realize, however, that at the age of 60, I was probably going to need to do something in the consulting realm if I didn't set up my own business. And I thought about doing that. I have a PhD and 2 master's degrees. And that was the other thing that felt like a barrier for me. I was overqualified for many of the things I might have been interested in, but underqualified for other things that I might have been interested in. So that was my case. Everybody's case is different. So it depends on you. And Terry's got that is teaching elementary, middle school. I'm not sure what context that statement is based on, so I'm not quite sure how to respond to that. So Tyler says, thank you for a great workshop. Appreciated the thoughtful insights. Sarah says, thank you. Yeah, give me hope. So I think that's probably it. And I need to be heading out because I have another appointment with a client. So just as one more reminder, if you decide you would like the program, you'd like to try the starter program, remember you get 100% money back guarantee if you work your way through the whole program in 30 days and it isn't what you needed to get yourself moved into a new space. TeachersinTransition.com Jumpstarter program. Make a note of that in case you decide you would like to take me up on that offer later. And don't forget to get your book at TeachersinTransition.com 10 Things PDF. You simply download it with that link. Okay? Thank you all for being here. I'll let you know when I'm ready to do another one of these, and I hope to see you soon. Email me at kittyboitnot@gmail.com if you have any questions after the webinar, and you will be able to see a replay of this in just a little bit. So thank you, guys.